country. My name is Sage Babalola. You are welcome to today's episode of The Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM. This is a weekly program that happens Mondays through to Fridays, 4 p.m. all the way to 5:30 p.m. We have engaging conversations, interesting analysis. We open your eyes to many things that are going on in the political system, when it comes to economics, when it comes to finance, whatever the aspects or angle might be that you would be willing to explore. I can assure you we're one step ahead of you. We appreciate you for joining us as always. Today we're going to be having a very interesting conversation, as we do every single time we are in the Situation Room. Well, today, once I introduce our topic for conversation and of course our guest, you would understand and be able to fully appreciate the gravity of the conversations that we have with you on radio. Again, welcome to the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola, and today on the Situation Room we're going to be talking about strengthening political party structures in Nigeria amid off-cycle election. Now, off-cycle elections have for at least 15 years been a regular part of our electoral process. It's a concept that was actually born out of irregularities in our electoral process, and unfortunately, despite all the years of practice that we've had, there's always political controversies leading up to these off-cycle elections, and I can only hope that this conversation that we're about to have would avail us the opportunity to dissect the root causes of these controversies, how they've been managed in the past, how they're currently being managed, and also the ripple effects that it would have on our democracy as a nation. Now, we're going to be focusing a lot on political parties, because political parties are considered some sort of vehicle, that drive us to our democracy. But aside from the fact that we're slowly slipping into a mono-party system in the country, the political viability of other parties have been in question for years. There are other parties. Why do we not look to these parties to step up and step in and do something for the people? Well, today on the Situation Room, we'll be discussing strengthening political party structures amid off-cycle elections. And of course, we would reference and highlight the forthcoming Ondo and Edo state off-cycle election, which is earmarked for November 16 and September 21 respectively. This conversation we do have in the studio a journalist, media consultant, assistant general secretary, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst of Nigeria, GPAAN, Richard Inuma Oshiomole. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Riches. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for giving us your time. It's the holidays. Everybody's with their family. But you decided that, we have to do the job. We have to enlighten people.
This is a national assignment.
Of course. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for your time. So, we're talking about off-cycle elections, everything that it entails, the part that the political parties play, the part that we, the electorates, play, and how the activities of these political parties influence our democracy as a nation. But let's start by highlighting the historical context of off-cycle elections and how it has evolved in Nigeria. So if we have the foundation, it would help us to fully understand what we are seeing manifesting in our present day political landscape. So give us an idea of what these off-cycle elections were supposed to correct, in the beginning.
Yeah, I think we got into all this in 2006 when the then candidate Peter Obi, of APGA, believed that he was rigged out of that election. So then he was up against Chris Ngige of the PDP, but then he got his victory, got his victory, and just a month thereabout, or two months thereabout, he got impeached, and replaced by his deputy Etiaba, who became the first female governor in the country. But then the 2007 general elections were fast approaching, and he was advised to pick up the form and to contest, the elections. But he was like, no, I took over and barely spent 1 year in office before I was thrown out. So. And that became another topic of discourse again. But elections came, and what do we call him? Chief Uba, he became the governor. Then Obi found himself at the court again, having to fight for his mandate. That look, I had every right to complete my 4-year term. So, and Supreme Court, I think April 2007 did justice to that. And no, that was June 2007 after Andy Uba had been sworn in and said, look, this man hasn't really completed his term. And Peter Obi became the first, and Anambra became the first off-cycle state, on the electoral system in the country. So what we are saying here is that there has always got to be the first somewhere. And there's nothing you can do about it. The Supreme Court had the final say. And until something else happens to the Constitution, it remains that way.
We are actually going to talk about that because there are people who are not very comfortable with that arrangement of off-cycle election. But I want us to get through some fundamental parts of the conversation before we now start to talk about people that do not necessarily buy into the idea of off-cycle elections. Earlier in my introduction, I said that political parties are supposed to serve as some form of vehicle that would drive us, to all of the many benefits that democracy is supposed to offer the people. But unfortunately, this so-called vehicle, we can see that the tires are bad. The steering wheels are starting to pull off. And I'm talking about, this is me describing the intra-party crisis that we're seeing right now. We know that even the ruling party, they have their crisis. It's just in a way they've been successful in, keeping it in-house. They sort out their issues in-house. But we see parties like the PDP. For example, INEC put out the list of all the 17 candidates that would participate in the Edo election. And the deputy governor, Philip Shuaibu, his name was not there. We knew the controversy around the primaries that happened and all the abracadabra that happened there. But INEC recognized Ighodalo as the candidate and they put out the name there. And now Philip Shuaibu, via his legal counsel, have said, we don't agree with this. We're going to employ the law to sort this out. Let's not even start to talk about the Labour Party at this time, the controversy with the national chairman. In fact, New Telegraph on Sunday put out a report and they said it's possible that the Labour Party would not be able to field a political a candidate for the elections, for example, in Ondo State, because you need the signature of a national chairman to agree that this is our candidate. But then even within the party, they are saying they do not know who Julius Abure is, even after the court has affirmed his chairmanship. So talk to us about intra-party crisis and the implications that it has when it comes to establishing the strength of political parties in the country.
Yeah, Philip Shuaibu versus Aswai Godalo, Philip Shuaibu versus the Governor Godwin Obaseki, and Philip Shuaibu versus the People's Democratic Party. So it seems he has so much battle against different camps, But let's talk about his aspirations, to become the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Just recently, we had these issues again coming from the Supreme Court, that look, every issue that has to do with primaries is the prerogative of the party. And that was why even those, the House of Assembly members who were sacked in the Plateau State elections, the case that came up at the appeal court, they thought they should have had their mandates recovered. So what we are saying is that, for instance, you had that primaries, the Edo State PDP primaries, monitored, attended by the INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, and certified, okay. So that's what I'm saying here. Now, the fight of Philip Shuaibu against the People's Democratic Party, I don't know where that will end, because the PDP, the Supreme Court had settled that. Look, except we have other divergent interest in the party who are ready to say, look, these are viable evidence, evidence that, look, something didn't go well, and these are the evidence we have to present. But aside that, INEC didn't report any anomaly at that primary. So, and everything seems to be calm, except from the camp of Philip Shuaibu. So, maybe he knows something we need to know. Presently, INEC, as the arbiter, they have virtually certified that we had a very good primaries in Edo with regards to PDP. So let the case continues at the court, and let's see what INEC also tenders as evidence to validate that primary.
All right. So speaking of INEC, and I'm glad you brought it up, INEC, of course, they have a responsibility to monitor these primaries and be sure that everything is right, even from the very beginning, which is, the process that brings about the candidates that the party failed. The Labour Party now, INEC is saying the convention that Mr. Julius Abure, the one he held, the one that they moved from, is he in Navy and they moved to Abia? Where did they, Anambra, where they move it to? He says, INEC said, we do not monitor this because first things first, you didn't even inform us that you were going to change the venue of the convention. So all the selection and elections that you did on that day, we do not recognize it as the body that is supposed to monitor, all of these election process that happens within the party. So, and a lot of people are paying attention to the Labour Party. It's not as if this controversies or this infighting is something that is new in the political landscape, but a lot of people are paying attention to what's going on within the Labour Party because people thought of it as some sort of substitute opposition, that okay, maybe the PDP, you've tried as opposition, we've seen you, let's have a new party come in, right, to play the role of opposition, and let's see what kind of showing they will have. But the party that the people relied on to take on that responsibility are too busy fighting each other to the point where they're even denying, the position of certain individuals. And INEC is saying, we don't recognize that convention that you had. So what does this mean for the Labour Party and for all of those who were really hoping that this new political party, so to speak, who had a very strong showing in the past election, was going to play the role of strong opposition?
Regrettably, Labour Party let the citizens down. Because, as rightly said, they became that kind of hope, that the viable option, to PDP and APC. So, and now you can see what is happening. Just about 3 days ago, you had almost the whole of House of Assembly members of Labour Party in Enugu State decamped to the PDP. That's one. Then you also have the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria at loggerheads with the chairman of the party, Julius Abure, trying to claim ownership of Labour Party. So it seems we have so much interest, parochial interest that seem to be above, the trust Nigerians, millions of Nigerians who thought that Labour Party was becoming the new platform that will be able to drive and achieve that aspirations they have yearned for over the years. But then you also had Peter Obi, the last presidential candidate of Labour Party, who said he refused to attend that convention in Anambra because he advised against it, and he advised them on ways of going about conflict resolution and compromise here and there, and they refused. So he boycotted that convention. So if the presidential candidate of a party refused to attend a convention and INEC did not observe that convention, then someone else who knows better than me needs to come and maybe enlighten about that legitimacy.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, this is still the Situation Room. We are talking about strengthening political party structure in Nigeria amid off-cycle elections. You can very well understand why we're referencing the off-cycle elections a lot, because there's a lot of expectations that the off-cycle elections is supposed to be easier because it's just a selected amount of states. I think 8 states. That's the only places in the country where we have off-cycle election, and right now it's just Ondo and Edo State that we're looking forward to September and November. And unfortunately, we have these amount of intra-party crisis within the parties that are supposed to be currently building strategies to support the candidates that they're going to field during the election. And so we're having conversations about how these events that play out within the party would have some sort of influence, the ripple effects that it would have on the strength and the showing of these political parties during the elections. Of course, we have the privilege of joining us in the studio today, journalist, media consultant, the Assistant General Secretary, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst of Nigeria, Richard Enuma Oshiom Omole, and we've been having a very interesting conversation up until this very moment. Not to worry, when we get through the question and answer session with Mr. Richards here, we're going to open the phone line so that you can engage him as well. But let's get further into this particular conversation. I want you to talk to us about even the process that leads to selecting the candidates. I've listened to a lot of stakeholders in the political landscape. They say that sometimes choice is like an illusion in this part of the country. We think that we have a choice, but we don't necessarily have a choice because, yes, we have at least 18 registered political parties in the country. But the candidates that you're going to choose from, there are certain individuals that would show them to you. The people you choose from have been chosen by certain individuals. They're going to have to select. Then we select. But then the process that brings about these candidates that are the flag bearers of these parties, many would say it has been tainted. There's corruption in there, even within the parties. There are many accusations. You hear people saying delegates were being bribed, they robbed me, because of me they increased the amount of money for the nomination form because they think I won't be able to afford it. We heard so much in the past election. So talk to us about even the primaries in itself. The primaries, the process that brings about the candidates that we, the electorate, are now being asked to pick from.
Yeah, okay, let me start with what we currently have on the table with Felix Shuaibu in Edo State, for instance. He felt deprived of his right to have the right input of delegates. He believed the delegates list had been compromised, and he wouldn't in any way have that fair platform to contest for that primary. And that has been the grouse, of the issue in PDP Edo State. And that is already in court anyway. But now, you talked about the intra-party, and you need a complete, viable democracy to be able to have a strong party system. The democracy we have itself, you want to question it. Is this the democracy that the Joe Odumakins, the Abraham Adesanyas, they name them, that they almost died for, and some died. In actual fact, some died. The Bagada Katos got bombed in his hotel in Kano. The Delegiwas. You had democracies that got Punch newspapers proscribed, and the Guardian proscribed, and all that. And many journalists couldn't sleep at home. And you want to does it all worth all the sweat and suffering? You understand? So what we are saying is that you are talking of party system that has more or less become rough fight, for politicians.
I was going to say a joke.
Yeah, a joke is a joke. But the democracy itself, you look at the process, now you want to aspire, but because of the nomination form, that's begin from there, the screening starts to screen the genuine people that wish to serve this country, screen them out. You can't even come in without that being a money bag. So it is not enough for you to have that interest, but you must have the money to purchase all the forms and all that. So, but what we are saying is that when you screen the right genuine patriotic individuals out at the initial stage of having to get leadership that can serve the citizenry, then how do you then get the right leadership? So what we are saying here is that you must get the right democratic settings from the Constitution. You must get it right by allowing everyone, you understand, but then should we say we didn't have the opportunity? The Chief Ganifa in Miss NCP offered Nigerians that platform. No one had to purchase a form for 10 million, 40 million. But Nigerians laughed him off. They mocked him. No one took advantage. The few who took advantage didn't make it. So even the one or two who later got into office, they camped. The same way the few people who got into office through Labour Party, they camped. Why all this? Because we have no political parties based on political ideologies. In Europe, in some countries of Europe and in the United States, you necessarily do not have to aspire to be the president, but because the the governance starts from the grassroots. They need everyone from the grassroots, and it's the same thing from we have here. So, but you have everyone wants to go to the state because the grassroots has been destroyed. The local government chairman is like an ATM to the state. So he is more or less sitting there. But there was a time in this same country, local government chairmen were the big boss and they were performing, even up to the time of the military. You understand? The time of SDP and NRC, Babangida experimented, political parties, the two sanctioned political parties. You understand? So, but as of today, we have a system where the grassroots has been deliberately compromised not to function, so that whenever election comes, money then is then taken to the grassroots, and those who have been deprived for so many years, and because poverty has also been weaponized, they will begin to jump and fight over the crumbs. So there is actually no political ideology from anywhere. Survivor of the fittest. So, you could be in the PDP and also help to float another party, Mushroom Party. So when to play the spoiler, so because it's so bad, it's that bad. So, but and then you begin to wonder who is going to take us out of this. Who is going to? Or we are not stupid. I have said this, for the optimum time. Nigerians are not stupid. Some are greedy, the political elite, while the electorates are more or less like helpless and ignorant.
You said something, there's some political parties that have probably been overlooked, and this is me just paraphrasing. A lot of political parties have been overlooked, and there are times where individuals will say, we're not running a mono-party system. Like I said, we have 18 registered political parties, although some collapsed into each other during the past election, but at least INEC put it out there that we have 18 registered political parties. But even sometimes when we're speaking on radio, subconsciously we say the two major political parties. It just comes to us because we're so used to seeing this major political parties, quote and unquote, having a show, and it's almost like the other parties are non-existent. You see a voting of, I know that it's not the whole 200 million population that vote. At least some 32 million sometimes register to vote. But you see political parties that have 2 votes, and then you're wondering why. Why is it that we have set our eyes so much on certain political parties and we have forgotten that there are other parties who probably share the same ideology with us, but we do not trust in their ability because we've only ever seen a select amount of political parties handle the affairs of the country? Why is that?
It's because, once again, because the political ideology is zero. So you do not have you heard of any out of the 18? They were 35 when Chief Gani Fáyẹ̀mí got this approval from the Supreme Court that the party registration should be, liberalized. So you had them 35, then they become so dormant, redundant, and INEC had to come and give them conditions, and they became streamlined to 18. But what I'm saying is that where is the ideology? In Europe, you have Green Party. You have some parties that speak so much on immigration. You have others speak on religion, like in the Netherlands. You have them, they will tell you, like, if I win, Christians will stop coming, or Muslims will stop coming, or traditional, the same thing in India. The Green Party will tell you, look, our society is getting polluted day by day, and we need to do something about it. Who is talking about issues in this country? Even the Labour Party you spoke about, most people who contested on the platform of the Labour Party only took advantage of the Peter Obi factor and popularity too, and that is why they are decamping now. You have a couple of them that have decamped virtually. So what I'm saying is that, but if there had been political ideology like you used to have in the time of UPN, MPN, you will see the NC NCCP or thereabout now, you will have no problem talking about religion and ethnic issues, because you will discover that even the Zix party will win in the House of Parliament in the Southwest, and the Southwest Action Group will win in the Midwestern region. You know, and you see the Aminu Kano's party winning in the East. That is ideology. It has nothing to do with religion or ethnic. So it is about the welfare of the citizen, how the country can survive, because except they knew, they understood it, that except they gave what belonged to the people to them, they will have no way to sleep with two eyes.
So what kind of innovative strategies can these smaller political parties, so to speak, employ so that they're able to stand out in this crowded political landscape, so to speak? The bigwigs who have the monies, they have the finance, they even have international connections. You know, what can these smaller parties, like I said, so to speak, what can they do to stand out, to relate to the people that we are capable, if only you would give us a chance?
The issue we have here now is that who are the smaller political parties? For instance, let's look at the Edo State elections now. You have People's Redemption Party,
and the Boot Party,
you have the Boot Party, and all that. Can they come forward and say, look, this is what we stand for? How do you convince me that you were not registered or set up to play the spoiler, you know, for the other main political party? Because I do not even know your ideology. I can't trust you. Where were you before this time? You understand? So how can people, okay, you have the SDP, you have the ABGA, you have the All People's Movement and all that. You have African Action Congress. For instance, what would they say they want for Nigeria? And by extension, Edo State. Because they are contesting that election there. 17, and you just suddenly came up and you expected in your local government, what impact and visibility do you have there? You understand? To say, oh, because politics is local. You understand? If I just came back from Edo State, you know, but what I'm saying is that I didn't see any poster or billboard. An election is coming in September that belongs to African Action Alliance, so to say. I don't know who is funding that. It could be someone from the PDP or from the SDP. So there has to be trust in the first place for me to say, okay, let me see. Even if I want to trust them, where are they? Where are they located? Then what message have they relayed over the years for the past 4 years after the last election? What have they done for the people? You know, their candidate, where has he been? And he just showed up and he's called yourself a political party. And that is why many people believe, including the INEC, that is why they believe that, look, these guys are non-existent.
Speaking of INEC, thank you for bringing that to the surface. A lot of people say that off-cycle elections are like, think of it as another litmus test for INEC, because every time we have the national elections, the gubernatorial elections, I don't think there's any election where INEC has been spared of backlash. There's always the complaint of, you didn't do this right, you promised to do this. The 2023 election is all the evidence that we need. INEC was under fire. People say you made promises that you didn't fulfill. You were too confident, and then, you failed on the promises that you made. And so there are some who are saying, okay, let's give them a chance. This is the off-cycle election. It's limited amount of states. I want to use the proverb, I'm so sorry. As a Yoruba girl, I feel so ashamed myself. But you're able to see the entire thing compared to when you're dealing with multiple, over 28 states. So what kind of showing do you think INEC can have? Because they have to, in a way, prove themselves to the people again. And the off-cycle election is the perfect way to do that. Okay, watch us conduct these off-cycle elections, and then maybe the faith that you used to have in us can be restored. What do you think about that notion?
I think it's going to take a while for people to trust INEC again. It's going to take a while, going by what happened in the 2023 general elections. And it's not going to be, trust is something you earn and it becomes really entrenched. It's not something you just come up and speak to the press and ask for our trust just like that. Because when you look at the number of people who registered, show the interest, struggled to collect their PVCs and all that, and the frustration that came about the whole of collection of PVCs, then going into the elections, the failure to transmit, results and
in real time,
having to struggle with uploading the National Assembly election and refusing to upload the presidential elections. All these things are still very fresh in the memory of Nigerians. And my fear is that INEC could actually end up throwing this country into a civil war, because we were very close to something like that at during the last elections. The tension was high. Nigeria has never gone to that level during elections. I know that people waited, they couldn't get results of what their franchise they exercised. They couldn't get results to that effect, and almost every observation groups, faulted INEC, and INEC later came, out to apologize.
Yeah, technical glitches to explain.
In 2024, talking of haven't spent billions.
But let me play the devil's advocate, Mr. Oshomale. I apologize. Okay. We have tested, the BVAS system and the technology for the off-cycle. I believe we used it in Ekiti State to test it, but that was the first time we were using it on a national scale. Do you think we would afford INEC some leniency on that basis?
I disagree with you, because I was an observer at that last 2023 general election.
Right.
As the mock elections, I observed that election, and the BVAS and every other thing worked perfectly. We were together with the European Union observation team and all that. Then going into the election proper of April 2023, I was also on ground. I went around. There was no reason you will give that those machines failed. You spend billions of taxpayers' money.
The most expensive election we've had, actually.
In a third world country, billions of naira was appropriated for
the technology.
And you came on board. That alone amounted to economic sabotage. So, and you came about saying, look, because of this, I couldn't do. If that had been your private business, look at the monumental loss you had caused. And that wasn't all. You almost threw the country into a civil war by putting the country on edge, tension. And I must say, once again, the trust in INEC will go beyond the off-cycle election of Edo and
you don't think
Ondo.
it would, in a way, influence people if after this election, INEC does well, shows everything, the transparency and you don't think it would maybe allow the people start to, okay, let's see what INEC has for us moving forward?
What can INEC do if the morale is still very low?
And this is an opportunity for them.
Okay, how much of a campaign and advocacy and orientation and reorientation, reassurance have you heard in the media, in the press, all over? What have you seen, indoor, outdoor? I haven't seen. I didn't see anything. I just came back from Edo yesterday, and I didn't see anything to that effect that INEC has reassured people. So you ask the people, maybe accept those political actors. They are the one who may likely go out there, throw around as usual, one few notes of naira to bring people out, because the confidence in this present democracy is at the lowest ebb. You have few weeks ago, about 8 weeks ago, 200 million people voted in Indonesia, not registered. They voted proper in Indonesia. Now, in Nigeria, you had about 32 million, thereabouts, voted, right?
Registered. And we had voter apathy. How many million people came out to vote?
I think, no.
It was
the registered number was beyond 32 million. But the voter proper, the voting figure we had was around that 30 million. in a country maybe where you had almost 100 million voting age, So you cannot say democracy has been entrenched. You cannot say that the democracy has been trusted, that look, this process can give us what we want. This process, this system of government can bring us out of the doldrums, So, and if democracy fails, tell me what else.
If you're just joining us once again, this is the Situation Room. We're talking about strengthening political party structure in Nigeria amid off-circle elections. Mr. Richard Oshomole, he's a journalist and public affairs analyst, of course. He has quite an extensive portfolio, and I'm pretty sure that you've seen that in all the many conversations that we've been having since the start of the program at 4 p.m. We're talking about how can we strengthen the structure of the political parties that we have in the country, especially with the off-cycle elections that we have coming up right now, and all of the intra-party crises that are happening at this time. So I want us to talk about this, the dynamics of the events that are playing out within these political parties, especially the parties that would be contesting during the off-cycle election. What implication is this going to have for us on a national level?
Yeah, it's we need to restart. It's like rebooting the system. As I said, the morale is low, on the part of the electorate. But let's see what happens, and the less of disgruntledness we have, the less of court cases and the
electoral litigations,
electoral litigation and skirmishes we have, the better for the system. Then people in other states can begin to say, wow, okay, look, these are the issues here. On the day of elections, you have this recurring issue of materials arriving late, electoral materials arriving late, the ballot boxes hijacked, the ballot papers torn, multiple
technology was supposed to fix that.
Multiple thumb printing. So these are the things that are going to reassure people. The less of these, the better for the confidence building that you're going to hope that people get from other states of the federation. So you're not going to think it is annoying that in 2024 we keep having issues of ballot destruction of ballot papers and snatching of ballot boxes by hoodlums, right at the glaring eyes of the security operatives. So, but why do you have to do that when you have AI, and smart technologies where you could even stay in your bedroom and vote? It's possible because we've seen it happen in other climes. So what we are saying is that, okay, you want to keep on this usual way of doing things, even though the world has moved on. But how do you then ensure that ballot boxes are not snatched? How do you then ensure that ballot papers are not duplicated? How do you then ensure that hoodlums who have become entrained non-state actors do not take control and overpower security agents?
I want to, the security agents that monitor the electoral process, they're not allowed to necessarily wield weapons. And those are some of the explanations. I would not call them excuses. So let's call them explanations for the sake of conversation that these security agents gave. The law says we can't wield weapons when we're monitoring elections. So sometimes when these street urchins or these hoodlums or these political thugs, when they overwhelm us, there's only so much that we can do, which is why technology was supposed to rescue us from the shackle of ballot box snatching amongst other things. But unfortunately, we've not really been able to tap into the benefit of technology to eradicate that singular problem.
Why?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Sorry, Charles, I wouldn't know.
I hope Mahmoud, the INEC chairman, is listening. I want to know why in 2024 we still look very helpless.
Let's go back to the parties once again. There's been accusations of unethical practices and corruption within parties. And it's not like I'm trying to put the Labour Party on the spot, but unfortunately, all of these things happen to be manifesting within the party. I mean, we had the national treasurer who was suspended, who made a revelation and said the chairman, Julius Abure, he did not declare all of the money that we made from the sale of the FOB. We made more than 3.5 billion. So why is he, declaring just 1.2 billion or thereabout? She was suspended. But Julius Abure, of course, via his legal team, says they denied any allegation of that. And that's just, a reference. This is not us affirming that he actually did it. That's why I'm emphasizing allegations and accusation that was leveled against him. But we would be ignorant if we say that we do not know that corruption happens within structures, not just in politics, structures all around the world. Corruption happens there, and this corruption eats so deep into the structures of the political party that they are so engrossed with politics and the financial benefit that they forget the governance that the political parties are supposed to offer to the people. So how do we go about monitoring, or should I say calling the parties to order? And I'm saying this because the activities of a political party, there's only so much you can do if you're not a member of that party. In fact, when it comes to primaries, if you did not contest in a primary within a political party, you are not even allowed to take the matter to court if you are disgruntled, because you did not participate. Even as a member of the party, if you were not among those who contested for the primaries, you can't take the matter to court.
It's not your business.
So there's also a limit to what INEC can say when it comes to the operations of parties. So who will rein these political parties in when it comes to accusations of unethical and corrupt practices within the party?
Sanity. Sanity in the constitution, and pure sanity, and you have to bring the constitution to the table and do serious surgical operation on it. See, the politics remains the biggest enterprise in this country today. There is no business you go into and every month, maybe as a senator or a rep member, and you smile to the bank with close to 60 million naira cumulative constituency allowances and salaries and all that. So, and as long as you have this, having politics remaining as the most viable enterprise, something that should be heavily reliant on service, should be service oriented, is people who haven't really excelled in the private businesses have no business coming into politics, because you are coming to manage people's lives. So, but then you now have a situation where it has become all sort of business activities for the drug barons, the scammers and all that. Then it's going to be difficult to really separate the shaft from the grains, you understand? Because you need the money. For instance, I read of Peter Obi saying the auditors were commenced the auditing of books of Labour Party.
Some parties have not submitted their books, by the way. There was a report in The Guardian. Only the Labour Party and the party of Comrade Omoyele Sowore, they're the only ones who apparently have even submitted their books for all the money they spent during the election.
Okay, I haven't ever had anyone, even if they have submitted, I haven't had any report of any audit report of any party so far, even in the past. So what I'm saying is that you have politics in this country as one of the biggest enterprise, and you expect sanity to remain? No. So what we need to do here is to make politics less attractive, so that you even have to beg people. Some even opined that we bring the Ogun and the Ogbonigwe for political aspirants.
Well, the law does not recognize that.
The law, but look, the law has to recognize that, so that with that you then find who really is coming forward to serve the people. So the constitution needs to see. Look, we are talking of the constitution because the country is still peaceful. The way this country is going, you have the political elite who are overfed and over-pampered and over-comfortable. When the bubble bursts, the constitution will be suspended. So we don't want it to get to that point. So the constitution needs to rein in this political jobbers to make sure the goods are delivered for the people, so that we don't have to get into anarchy and to restart from the scratch. We don't want the Liberia experience. We don't want the experience of the Sierra Leone, the Fᴏʟʟᴡ. We don't want the Cameroon of the Cambodia, the Pol Pot. We don't want that. We don't want Nigeria to go the way of UNITA versus government in Angola. We want a situation where we are today, we move on. Some countries are already in the move, for God's sake. And we are right here talking of ballot box snatching. When we could do this on an app, like the NIMSI app on my phone, where I could change some things. You understand? So why do we look so helpless and idiotic, as if we do not know what we want? Because if we do that, politics will become less attractive, and the establishment doesn't want that.
You know, you spoke about funding, and that happens to be one of the stumbling block when it comes to smaller political parties and how they're able to have a showing, or one of the biggest impediments. They don't have as much funding as this so-called big party. I mean, we know parties that put their nomination form at 100 million naira, and there are political parties that their entire camp, everything that they are doing is not up to 40 million naira. And so how do you expect them to stand toe to toe with a party that is selling nomination form at a price that is practically the entire net worth of their own political party? I know that the law provides that there is even spending limitation when it comes to electioneering in the country. There's an amount of money that you're supposed to spend when it comes to campaign. If you're running for president, for governor, there are limitations to this spending, but who checks these spendings? And I believe that law was put in place so that everybody is fair in politics. It's all fair. Everybody has the same amount of power, firepower, when they're trying to seduce the people to buy into their own ideology. But there's the presence of the law, but the implementation of that law has now further rendered the smaller parties redundant. How do we fix that?
Yeah, you need to come clear on the smaller parties, so to say. Who are the smaller parties? How did they come into being? You understand? Who is funding them? Okay, in the past 4 years, for instance, in states coming into election this year, where have they been? What was their activities like? How many local dwellers, the grassroots electors, can really talk about them? What do they stand for? You understand? None of these. So, except you are able to come forward with something, different in ideology, and that is when you are able to see. In the past, even when you had the National Republican Convention as early as 1993, 1992, 93, you could say, look, NRC stood for this. Social Democratic Party stood for this. Progressive Republicans. Afterwards, nothing. So the smaller parties, for God's sake, the African Alliance Congress or whatever, what do they stand for? I mean, at the grassroots, you don't have to win elections into Aso Rock, but you can control the grassroots. Even in your grassroots, at the grassroots level, what have you done? So, what impact have you made on the primary school pupil, on the market woman, on the gardener, so that they can say, oh, this person, this individual has really done something. So, and that is just about the parties. Then, if you have to look at a way, even as an independent candidate, which the law should have taken care of long ago.
Unfortunately, we don't have that recognized right now.
But how do you then liberalize the political system? You want to give the best to the electorates without allowing the electorates to choose the best. I do not have to belong to any platform. So, as an independent candidate, I can decide to work for my constituency and get elected into the assembly.
Mr. Oshiomhole, please pardon me, allow me to interrupt you once again. A lot of people have said that because of this issue of funding and how if you do not have the money, you do not have the voice, you don't have the support. Many would say that that is why the idea or the concept of godfatherism have been abused in our political landscape. Because if you don't have the money, there's somebody there who says, I have the money. But the disadvantage of that is that this individual will be ruling by proxy. All you are is a figurehead, and the person who gives you the money is the one who's really calling the shot. Do you agree with that idea?
Of course, who he pays the pipers dictates the tune. It's like that all over the world. But that is why we say, look, the money talks and bullshit works. It's always been like that, even in the business environment. You have the money, Dangote calls the shot because he has all the money and the connection and all that. And if you are just a budding entrepreneur, you have to struggle until you make your mark. You understand? But what we are saying is that as long as you make politics so attractive, so attractive to the point that what do you call it now? Prayers have to be sent to individual emails and all that.
There's nothing wrong with prayers.
No. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's a figurative thing.
Of course I do.
So what I'm saying is that to that point, when you have it so enmeshed and monetized, then how do you then expect service delivery to come in? So, and the man on the streets, the downtrodden, remain so hopeless, and you call that democracy, and you call that government of the people, by the people, and for the people? No, because the screening started right from the nomination. No money, no nomination.
That is indeed a problem. Well, this is us still talking about strengthening political party structures in Nigeria. We have the off-cycle elections upon us in just a few months. September, November is here before you know it. But even the parties that were looking to have a strong showing to prove to us what they have to offer, who should right now be coming up with strategies to support their candidates, the infighting has clouded their ability to even maintain their party structure. And we're talking about how all of these events, all the dynamics of all the tussle and infighting happening within these political parties would spell on a national level. We've spoken about this from the angle of INEC. We've spoken about this from the angle of the smaller parties, the monetization of the electioneering process. Even we, the electorate, we have a part to play in all of this, and that's a conversation that we're definitely going to have. Earlier, we told you that as much as the off-cycle election have become a practice, as far back as 2003, 2006, when all of this happened, we have the former president, for example, Goodluck Jonathan, who says that he's not necessarily on board with this off-cycle election practice. We're going to go on a break in a few minutes, and I don't want us to start the conversation now and have to stop in between that particular break. But when we come back, we're definitely going to talk about how the off-cycle election and the idea that we might have to find a way to consolidate all of the elections, and how we're not able to afford having the general elections where we budget large amount of money for, and then we have the off-cycle elections where we have to budget large amount of money for it. We have INEC having to deploy staffs, have to hire ad hoc staff as well. That all of these things, we might have to find a way to adjust the constitution and the electoral acts to maybe consolidate the off-cycle elections with all the other elections. But we're going to go on a break. Then we would have the headline news at 5 p.m. We'll take a few commercials as well, and then we come back, we'll open the phone line. So as we're having conversations with Mr. Oshiomhole here, we'll open the phone line so that you can also ask your questions. Don't forget that we're talking about how we can strengthen political party structures in Nigeria amid off-cycle elections, as these political parties are supposed to be the ones who are helping us enjoy the benefits of democracy. But unfortunately, we're so carried away with politicking that we have forgotten the primary responsibility of governance. My name is Sage Babalola. Please don't go anywhere. You're still onto the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We'll be back.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man, there is nothing. We are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 괶ᴜᴜ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you your mates as we discuss the situations.
When the airwaves in your market become more and more crowded, it's time to break it open and really stand out. Broken Air is here.
On Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Headline news on 98.3 Mainland FM.
Good evening. Headline news on 98.3 Mainland FM. My name is Babalola Sandra. Christians mark Easter amid messages of hope, love, and joy. Chief of Army Staff says Army determined to defeat terrorists and bandits. President Tinubu to attend Bassirou Faye's inauguration as Senegalese president. In business, TCN raises alarm over planned attack on power facilities. On the foreign scene, Somalia's parliament approves bill granting president authority to appoint prime minister. Turkish opposition claims victory in Istanbul and Ankara, dealing blow to President Erdogan's party. And in sports, Plumtower ruled out of qualifiers against South Africa through injury in Paris 2024. That's the headline news on Mainland FM. Details at 5:30.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
It's Ramadan. Come on board. Let's go on a tour to the top restaurants where you can enjoy the best of the season. First stop is Charity Cafe. Here, the currency is sharing, so keep giving. Next stop is Kindness Bistro. Be the kindest you can be. Last but not the least, make a stop by at Forgiveness Drive-Thru and let go of every beef. And at Sahur and Iftar, bring it home with the goodness of great tasting meals with more.
This Ramadan, don't just eat for good. Share the good and be the good. More. Eat for good.
The drama, the suspense, the emotions, the gang moments. Don't miss out on Nollywood movies and web series on YouTube with the YouTube buffet plan from MTN. You can enjoy over 10 hours of Nollywood content made for you. Sharply dial *312*800# to activate the YouTube buffet plan from MTN and start enjoying YouTube made for you.
It's Ramadan. Come on board. Let's go on a tour to the top restaurants where you can enjoy the best of the season. First stop is Charity Cafe. Here, the currency sharing, so keep giving. Next stop is Kindness Bistro. Be the kindest you can be. Last but not the least, make a stop by at Forgiveness Drive-Thru and let go of every beef. And at Sahur and Iftar, bring it home with the goodness of great tasting meals with more. This Ramadan, don't just eat for good. Share the good and be the good. More. Eat for good.
This Torchlight phone, I been advised to go call am. Wetin you dey always praise for there?
No mind me, Jare. I been dey check something for Google.
Shey you dey whine me? You dey browse Google with this Torchlight phone?
Come see now with MTN Basic Search. Just dial *77717# only on MTN Lite to check anything for the web without data. Sharp. See now.
Shey you no go like try this innovation powered by MTN? We go give you basic search, sharp without data for your phone. This one be say no data, no problem. Just dial *77717# only on MTN Lite.
Hello everyone, Jendol Superstores is here again.
Yes, that's why we are identifying with you, our valued customers, at this moment of purity, love, sacrifice and dedication to God.
As part of identifying with you, our valued customers, in a season of faith, supplication and sharing, Jendol Superstores will be offering you up to 50% discount for some products across all sections in all our superstores nationwide.
This is fantastic.
Yes, so for all your groceries and non-grocery items, household needs, food items at the most affordable rates, bakery items, electronic gadgets, religious materials, and wonderful gift items for your friends, families, loved ones, religious and corporate organizations, Jendol Superstores is the best place to shop at this period.
So what are you waiting for? Hurry now. Shop at Jendol Superstores today.
Offer valid while stock lasts.
Visit Jendol Superstores nearest to you in Egbeda, Idimu, Igondo, Okeafa by Jakonde Gate, and Ipaja by Abeson. We are also at Abulegba, Alakuko, Odogiyo in Ikorodu, another branch along Tᴏɪᴛᴛ Road, Ikorodu, and in Ojuore, Ota, Ogun State. For more unbeatable shopping experience,
Jendol opens Mondays to Saturdays 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Sundays 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.
For more details, visit our website at www.jendolsuperstores.com.
For online, home, office or special deliveries, call or WhatsApp us on 090-6287-3274 or call the customer care line on 090-6287-3267.
Visit Jendol Superstores today and get discount up to 50% on some products in all sections of our superstores nationwide.
Jendol Superstores. Shop and smile.
Wait, isn't that an Alte jam?
Yeah, it enter Abi.
Wait oh, when did you start jamming Alte? What happened to Afro depression? Like, who put you on?
Oh yeah, dial Sophie's number. Now that's who put me on.
Share your vibe with Hello Tunes from Airtel. Dial *790# to enjoy free trial and pay later.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Are you a real estate developer in Lagos? Do you want to see the business of real estate development done to global best practices? Are you eager for a more cordial relationship between real estate developers and government in Lagos? Do you want a boom in the Lagos real estate sector? Then vote Dr. Segun Oshudairu as Chairman, Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, REDAN, Lagos State Chapter.
A vote for me is a vote for continuity, for unity, and for progress of REDAN Lagos. I'll be counting on your votes. We can do this together. Thank you.
Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday a perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is where I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man, there is nothing. We are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 괶ᴜᴛᴜ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial. Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you next as we discuss the situations.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're still on to the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We're talking about building political structures or strengthening political structures in Nigeria amid off-cycle elections. My name is Sage Babalola. I do have with me live in the studio journalist, media consultant, Assistant General Secretary, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst of Nigeria, Richard Inuma Oshiomole. And together we've been having very extensive conversations speaking to the most significant aspects of this particular topic of strengthening political parties amid off-cycle elections, intra-party crisis, the role of the electorate, the place of financing and how in a way it corrupts or interferes with the ability of these political parties to have a great showing amongst other things. Now we're going to open the phone lines. Of course, it's time for us to take public contribution. For those of you who have been listening, you either want to agree or disagree with the perspective of our analyst in the studio, by all means do so. He's here. You can interact directly with him. You can call the phone lines 0913-6000-410. That's 0913-6000-410. We're also streaming the program live on our Facebook platform, so you can very easily drop your messages on our Facebook platform and I'll be more than happy to read those messages. We're talking about strengthening political party structures in the country with the off-cycle elections that are upon us. We'll take this one phone call and then I would raise one of the issues that I was going to before we went on that particular break. Let's take our first phone call for the day. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening
Hello.
to you, sir. Yes, we're with you.
This is Olaiwola from the guys.
All right. Mr. Olaiwola, go ahead, please.
See the issue of the Labour Party. Let me use it as a case of study. We are talking about accountability and transparency. And that is the pillar of the Labour Party and what will be made for that the people is after now. Obi himself, auditing is almost a 1 year after conducting the general election. They have never published or give a proper accounting at the people that are supporting in the general election. Within the party that he represents again, that is allegation with the National Treasurer say we made money on more than 3 billion naira. The money that the people buy from and we cannot accountable for it. This is where TUC and the Nigeria Labour Union is coming from. One thing that is making a party to be strong, as a party leader, before you have a national convention, they have to have a local convention, have a world convention, have a local government convention, and have a state convention. How do they go to the national? How do they go to the national convention without a proper following from the from downward to the upward. This is the issue we are talking. If you gather all what we are having in Nigeria here today, inability to account for the common people in the street, and they are using this political to enrich themselves and to get property where they are children to grow up. We are talking about the Labour Party. We are talking about many of the political parties that are coming to fool Nigeria and take advantage of it. The Labour Party already take advantage of it. Common people that are buying this one, and the money is not accountable for them. The same political other party also take advantage of it. This is the progress. The only thing we can go back to it. Well, if we can go back to 1992 or 1991.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Let's do 2 minutes so that we can get as many contributions as possible. Although we did tell you there was a report last week that the Labour Party actually have put out their books. All the monies that they spent during the elections, they have made it very much available. The Labour Party has done that. And it's 6 months after the election is when you're supposed to ensure that you submit your books for auditing. So before we take our next phone call, I would like to read out, a segment of a report that was put out by The Punch yesterday, the 31st of March. Now, I'm reading something that former President Goodluck Jonathan had said. On November 11 of 2023, former President Goodluck Jonathan called for an end to off-season elections in Nigeria. According to him, with the trend of off-season elections, there may come a time when the presidential election will be held off-season. He said, and I quote, "I get worried about the issue of off-season election. I will use this unique opportunity to plead with the National Assembly that we need to block these off-season elections. It is very odd. It is not a global best practice. A country can elect its people at different times like America and some countries, but not everybody at the same time. But anytime they go to an election, they elect everybody. If we continue with this trend of off-season election based on the interpretation of our laws by the judicial officer, in that case, we will come to a time when the presidential election in Nigeria may be off-season." So, the former President Goodluck Jonathan is saying this off-season election is not a global best practice. It's not something that we should continue. We need to find a way to consolidate this. We need to find a way to amend the Constitution, amend the Electoral Act such that we have our gubernatorial elections simultaneously. Is this a practice that is possible, especially with the history that you've told us gave birth to the concept of off-cycle elections?
Except he didn't prefer any
No, he did not. He just has to amend the Constitution and find a way to...
How do you do that? You stole from me, and I went to the court, and the court found reasons with my evidence, that you stole my votes, and they gave me back my mandate. So what's the problem with that? So you spent 3 years, and you expect me to just get along with the 1 year and be home and dry? No. So I have 4-year term, and that has to, as a matter of fact, I will say whoever had elections rigged and has stayed like 2 years, even a day, should pay heavily to deter people from contemplating that. But that an individual went ahead, got his case proven well enough, and reclaimed his mandate. And I don't know what Goodluck Jonathan was insinuating. So
you don't think it's possible to find a way to have all of the elections simultaneously?
It is possible once the integrity of the electoral system, gets improved. You got election in Turkey just yesterday, and the opposition got most of the votes. And you had the same thing in Indonesia, you had it in Pakistan. How many did you see to the tribunals? So the electoral process, the INEC has a big job to do in this. If they are referred to as INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, they really has to be independent, up and doing, and stop putting Nigeria in unnecessary crisis.
Right, let's take more phone calls. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, how are you doing? Very well, thank you.
My name is Babalola. Babalola is my name.
All right, welcome.
I don't know what the former president is saying, because this is the timetable that's backed by law. It's not the issue of inflation now, after another thing. So there is nothing we can do. It's become part of our politics. That's nothing we can do. In terms of political structure, small parties, you see, stage all over the world. You can, you you can't have structure, you don't have money. Politics is all about money. You must spend money and do something politically. That is it. So you can't be just a party that maybe a family party who just some friends gather and just leave that party. And you expect to have something different. No. Why is it that today we have all the opposition parties that are going down, gradually? Because of finance. You must use money. That is the truth. And the fact that you spend money and make yourself what you are, that does not mean that you corrupt the system now. You must spend money now. So I don't know, I stand to be corrected. Maybe you are another to correct me. It says that you have to get offices all over 36 states as a party. So how do you get that? How do you get that? How do you move how do you even campaign around? You need money now. How do you send your manifesto to people? Money. How do you even go through media and tell people that I'm the best, vote for me? It's money. So that is what I'm saying. If you are talking about party structure, you need money to do that. If you don't have money, then you need the rest parties that has money to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling. We appreciate you. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening to you, sir.
Hello. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So you have the best money.
I have who? We can't really hear you, sir.
Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think you have the best man on the line.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I started a political career as somewhere in Ghana, 1992. As a party member, you contribute money for the party, not the party is giving you money. So I'm surprised that when nowadays parties are giving you money, or you use money to buy votes from people. So if you continue like this, things are not going to move well. The money back are taking everything into their pocket. Look at how 2023 election went. We went there and vote for something that we like. They turn everything upside down. They say technical glitches. We know what we know. So let's just think and then pray and then work hard towards 2027. But now it is over. And what I'm saying is, it will be very difficult for Nigerians to get their self back. Because with this kind of people that we have now for our affairs of Nigeria, it's not palatable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your call. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, can you turn down the volume on your radio, sir, please? Please turn down the volume on your radio when you call. Hello.
Hey, how are you, my sister?
Very well, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you for holding on for the only one.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Chakes. I have Ambassador Muzba here from Uchi. Look, solution to this problem is only when we make this politics or office holder less attractive. That's the solution. It cannot be a government that be a billionaire. Even president. Calculate all the money he's spending for campaign, all tolerant, and unless you make it less attractive, you have to have maybe as a senator, you have to be camera, stamina. You have your own job. Not that you need politics as your own in and out to make money. Unless that, and moreover, all this going to court cannot stop. Because when we two people are contested, and I want one, and I'm not agreed, I mean, I want to go to court. So we are practicing the kind of American Democrats, kind of way they run the election there. They go to court. Can you compare Agor and George Bush at that time? Up to date, Agor still believe he won the election. Even Donald Trump still believe Biden stole his mandate. That's people for you, it not be for you. So all is that we need to be less attractive, and we people have the power. Use the power belongs to us that we can sack the senators anytime, any day. Well, strong institution is the solution. Thank you. Let me stop here.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. I'll take out 2 minutes before I go back to the phone. Mr. Oshomole, how about alliances and coalition? I mean, we have the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, who even recommended, since we have a party that has become really strong, they've had years to build their political party so strong that they're entrenched in the mind of the average Nigerian. If you ask the average Nigerian to mention political parties, we know the parties that they will mention right off the top of their head. Why don't we come together, form a coalition, collaborate, and maybe we'll be strong enough to stand toe to toe with these major parties? Do you think that smaller political parties, they should start considering maybe not merging but working together? Okay, this political party shares our ideology, let's support them. This party shares, let's look for people who are like minds like us, pull our resources together, field someone, and maybe we would really be able to stand toe to toe with the major political parties.
I don't think that is the issue we have with the electorates or the economy. Okay, you have APC today in government, but APC is an amalgamation of CPC, the ANPP, and ACN, so to say. And I don't know if Nigerians are good with that, with the dividends of democracy, and all that. So I don't know. At different times, you had people come together. What do we call it? There was an alliance between the AD and another party in that should be 1999. They tried to come together. Then you had ANPP also came with a CPC at the time. The ᴏᴜᴛᴜ became the chairman of that alliance. And what did you have before you knew it? And ᴏᴜᴜᴜ left the party and went to took appointment with Goodluck Jonathan administration. So what we are saying is, it is not really about the bigness of, so to say, of parties. It's about the ideology. You are not talking about how individual citizen will get a 3 square meal, per day. You are talking about the GDP, that does not translate to reduction of out of school children. Then you are only giving the Boko Haram and the other insurgent groups the pool of manpower to recruit and all that. So what we are saying is that the size of the party becomes inconsequential when the stomach of average citizen gets leaner.
If you have an ideology they can relate to, it doesn't matter your size. The average electorate will line up behind you. Let's go back to taking contributions. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Please turn down the volume on your radio. Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good evening.
I just want to...
Pastor Ambrose, please, if you can. I don't know if it's your radio or it's the phone is very loud. It's very loud. We have headphones on.
Are you okay now?
Okay, let's work with this. Go ahead, sir.
I just want to correct what the last caller said.
Okay.
There is no new WG in 1999. WG was the speaker in 1979 during Shehu Shagari regime, and it was of the NPP fold when the NPN and NPP joined together to form an alliance at the national level. This man too, then what's his name now? Joseph too, they formed an alliance then. So WG was never involved in politics in 1999. I just want to correct that so that people can be well informed. The late WG was the former Speaker of the House of Reps. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, so I'm good.
All right.
The system we are managing in this country, we are not laying a good sample to our next coming generation. We have fake policies to destroy the country. And it should be a shame of show for all of us from A to Z. We are not a serious nation. We take policies to destroy everything in football, in the school, in academics, anything, we are still politics to love everything. And this is not how Babalola and his level lay all these foundations in their own time. I don't know where we are going to change. Me that I'm speaking, I'm looking towards my 60s in this great country, Nigeria. So may God just help Nigeria with all conversation, with all the radio station, with everything. What people are saying is just for a mirage. So God will bless Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much for calling. I believe, I don't think that we would be able to take another phone call, but if you'll be able to speak in a minute and you're willing to do so, you can call in. But we're about to round off conversations for today on the Situation Room. We had the privilege of speaking about strengthening political party structures in the country amid the off-cycle elections. How can we have political parties that are strong enough to go toe-to-toe with the parties that, are more or less the big parties, as we would like to describe them nowadays? How can we have parties that are able to really contest, that are able to take care of the needs of those who are in the grassroots, and also the parties that we even have right now? How is it that the intra-party crisis is influencing, or should I say minimizing, their ability to properly even govern the people? They're so distracted by trying to sort out intra-party crisis that they're not even able to practice the democracy that the people are supposed to be benefiting from. So, Mr. Oshemale, we're about to leave the studio. We have less than a minute to leave before the full bulletin. Let's have your final word for today in a minute, please, before we leave.
Yeah, I mean, I want to implore the political class, the political elite, to kindly be students of history so that they can also save this country the pains, and that level of uncertainty they've put the country and its citizens. We can't continue this way. We want to go to bed, have the two eyes closed, not having the concerns of having, will someone knock on my door, for lack of security and all that. We want to have this privilege of traveling on the road, enjoying the scenery of this from one state to the other, and have the benefit of tasting every food of every village and on the way to each state we travel to, so that the economy, the local economy, can also grow.
Right.
The less you have people travel, the more you muzzle the local economy.
All right, thank you very much. Well, apparently, Pastor Ambrose, the one I want to misinform us on radio. Ezioke actually did join the PDP, and he did work, the special advisor to President Goodluck Jonathan on relations with civil society. So he did leave the ANPP to join the PDP and was appointed. So, Pastor Ambrose, please, if you call next time, me and you will fight. But thank you very much. I mean, it's okay for these things to happen. It's all for education purposes. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. The full bulletin is up next at 5:30 p.m. My name is Sage Babalola. Join us again tomorrow on the Situation Room, 4 p.m. all the way to 5:30 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways.